I sound like it. So Lanny says,
PGA Tour is stepping into the future with the launch of PGA Tour Studios.
Lee Trevino said golfers were turning into robots. It sounded like just another old man complaining about the new game. But Trevino was not only talking about swings, he was talking about the whole sport. He saw golf becoming mechanical in every way. Players moved like machines. Tours acted like cold businesses. Courses grew longer and harder. Sponsors cared only about money. Fans felt left out of a game they used to love, a game that once felt like theirs. For years, Trevino had a warning about the PGA Tour. He said the tour was set up as a non-profit group, which meant it belonged to no one. There was no real owner standing guard. Then came LIV Golf, backed by a huge pile of Saudi money. The tour had no strong wall to stop it. Top players left for guaranteed paychecks, and nervous sponsors started asking questions. If this story already feels like the kind of truth golf tried to bury, give this video some hype so more fans can hear the side of Trevino that golf wanted to ignore. Soon after, the PGA Tour turned itself into a for-profit company called PGA Tour Enterprises. Big private investors poured in more than $1 billion. That was the exact ownership shield Trevino had said was missing all along. In 2025, Trevino said the fight with LIV had cooled down. He felt the new money had saved the tour for now. He defended the tour boss, Jay Monahan, saying it took real guts to lead through such a messy fight. Trevino was cranky about the whole mess, but the mess proved he was paying attention while everyone else was arguing about logos and tee times. Trevino also pointed to one player as the start of golf's colder, more corporate style. He said Raymond Floyd brought an icy stare and total silence onto the course, and that younger players started copying that look. Television networks loved it because it seemed serious and powerful on camera. Trevino thought it made golf feel less human, less like a game played by real people, and more like a show built for cameras and sponsors. To understand why Trevino saw things this way, you have to go back to where he started. Trevino grew up in a small wooden shack near Dallas. There was no electricity, there was no plumbing. His father was gone before he could remember him. He left school in the 8th grade. He found old golf balls in the rough and sold them back to players. He worked at a course just to be near the game. Trevino did not learn golf in a clean clubhouse. He learned it on hard dirt, hitting balls until his hands bled. He learned it by betting on himself because that was the only way a poor kid could make money from golf. His most famous trick was hustling other players using a taped-up Dr. Pepper bottle. He hit shots with a smooth glass body and putted with the neck of the bottle. He went years without losing that bet. That background made Trevino tough and funny, but it also made him angry at golf's polished world. He never trusted the people who grew up with country club memberships handed to them. He saw their world as soft and fake, built on money instead of skill. That anger gave him sharp jokes and sharper opinions, but it also meant he often saw enemies where there were only strangers. This anger came out clearly when it came to Augusta National and the Masters. Trevino skipped the Masters more than once during the best years of his career. He felt unwelcome there. He felt the club's rules and traditions were built to keep people like him on the outside. He called players who quietly went along with Augusta's strict control gutless. Maybe he was right that Augusta protected old money and old power, but by skipping the tournament and attacking the people who played in it, Trevino also made himself easy to dismiss. Instead of fighting to change the system from a place of power, he stood outside throwing punches. Golf's leaders could call him bitter and move on, and many of them did exactly that. This brings us back to the robots. Trevino believed every golfer has their own natural swing, something the research calls swing DNA. He thought trying to rebuild an adult swing was almost as useless as trying to change how someone walks or talks. He said real improvement came from small things like moving the ball a little or changing hand position, not tearing the whole swing apart. His own swing proved his point. It was self-taught, built from thousands of swings on hard Texas ground. To stop a scary hook, he used a wide-open stance, a strong grip, and a powerful turn through his hips and legs. It looked strange, but it worked for 50 years. Modern coaching often locks the front foot down and limits the hip turn, which can twist the lower back and cause injuries. Trevino was right that golf became obsessed with perfect copy-paste swings built by coaches' machines instead of grown by players themselves. But there is a problem with how he said it. By mocking modern coaching as fake and robotic, he also made it sound like he rejected anything new just because it was different from the game he grew up playing. That made it easy for younger players and coaches to roll their eyes and ignore him. Trevino also took aim at modern golf clubs. He did not like the upright lie angles built into many clubs today. He said these angles helped slicers hide their mistake without ever fixing it. He preferred flatter clubs, which let him turn through the ball without flipping his hands at the last second. He also said the 60-degree lob wedge was the worst thing for an average golfer because most players swing it too hard, leaving shots short, or try to be precise with it and hit the ball thin instead. Trevino's strongest argument may be the one about slow play and course design. As far back as 1973, he wrote about declaring war on slow play. He said long waits between shots ruined a player's rhythm and turned a fun game into a miserable one. He joked that the delays were so bad that players could use their razors for something other than shaving. He blamed courses that were too long, too hard, and packed with sand, built more for professionals than for normal people. He wanted public courses around 6,400 to 6,500 yards with open fronts on the green so regular players could roll the ball up instead of needing a perfect high shot. Instead, golf went the other way. Courses kept growing past 7,000 yards, built to challenge pros but punishing for everyday golfers. Rounds stretched past 5 hours. Costs went up. Many players simply gave up and stopped playing. Trevino also blamed television for making slow play worse. He said amateur golfers started copying the slow, dramatic routines they saw pros use on TV. He said reading greens was simple, since grass tends to grow toward the sun and downhill. He wanted players to take fewer practice swings, stop over reading putts, and just play ready golf instead of waiting their turn in order. Trevino had small fixes too. He wanted golf carts parked behind the green instead of in front of it so players were not stuck walking back through the line of play. He wanted groups to wave the next group through once they reached the green, instead of making everyone wait until the hole was completely clear. None of these ideas were complicated. They were simple changes that could have saved players real time on every single round of golf. This is where Trevino was clearly defending the average golfer while the rest of the industry chased television ratings and elite players. But even here, his delivery was rough. He mocked slow players instead of gently teaching them. He made fun of the very people he claimed to be standing up for. A message that could have brought new players into the game instead made some of them feel stupid for how they already played. All of this came at a real cost to Trevino himself. In 1975, he was struck by lightning during a tournament. The damage stuck with him for the rest of his life. Years of hitting balls on hard ground left him with serious neck problems, and he eventually needed a metal plate fused into his neck. His knees wore down too, leaving him with arthritis that needed regular treatment just so he could keep playing and teaching. Trevino also believed self-taught players handled pressure better than players who leaned on a coach for every single answer. He said golfers who learned to fix their own mistakes on the course built a kind of toughness that could not be taught in a lesson. When other players blamed coaches, captains, or bad luck for poor results, Trevino pushed back, saying golfers needed to take responsibility for their own swings and their own choices under pressure. Looking at golf today, it is hard to say Trevino was wrong about the big picture. The tour did face the exact kind of outside threat he warned about. It did have to rebuild its ownership just to survive. Courses did grow too long for normal players, and many of them quietly walked away from the game because of it. Coaching did become a giant industry built around machines, numbers, and perfect models, often at the cost of natural feel. Trevino saw all of this coming from a shack with no electricity, a taped-up soda bottle, and a swing nobody taught him. He saw the cracks in golf's foundation long before most people in suits even noticed them. He deserves real credit for that. But Trevino also wrapped almost every one of these warnings in sarcasm, anger, and old grudges. He turned real problems into personal feuds with Augusta, with smooth-swinging pros, with slow amateurs, and with golf's polished new image. That made it simple for the people running the game to write him off as just another bitter old-timer with a chip on his shoulder. In the end, Trevino exposed golf's biggest problem. He saw it clearly, years before almost anyone else. He just delivered that truth in a voice golf was never quite ready to hear, and that may be the real reason so many of his warnings were ignored until it was far too late to fix things easily.